Now on CoastTV News.
Relocation roadblock. A new home for the Milford Museum will have to wait a bit longer. We'll tell you what's behind the delays. Lifeguard gap. Budget cuts leave Assateague National Seashore without lifeguards, raising concerns about emergency response times. Plus a trade breakthrough. A new deal between the U.S. and China could ease tensions.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
Good evening. I'm Christina D. Robertis. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with mutually assured annoyance. That's how Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick describes the conditions that led to a trade breakthrough with China. The president calls it a done deal, but nothing has been finalized. As NBC's Melanie Zanona reports, both sides say they're happy.
We just worked very positively into the night to get this deal done.
President Trump's trade standoff with China could be coming to an end. After 2 days of talks, U.S. and Chinese negotiators say they have agreed to a deal that should clear up a stalemate and de-escalate tensions between the world's largest economies. President Trump hailed the deal as done, and that China has agreed to provide rare earths to the U.S. quickly. Those are the all-important metals that create magnets needed to run vehicles, phones, and other electronics. While China says the two sides have agreed in principle to a framework of a deal,
President Trump's got to approve the final wording. President Xi's got to approve the final stuff. It's not really wording, it's really the deal.
President Trump has long claimed that China has taken advantage of the U.S.'s trade policy.
They're a little spoiled from having such great success against our negotiators.
Both countries cut back their triple-digit tariffs last month, but the U.S. accused China of not holding up their end of the bargain. Then, after a phone call with the two leaders last week, relations got friendlier.
He fixed everything with President Xi, got us on the right track.
The administration says there will still be a 55% tariff on Chinese goods, and U.S. exports will be taxed 10%. Since he took office, President Trump has imposed tariffs on almost every country in the world, and then rescinded or paused most of them. That's caused confusion for U.S. businesses who are now paying more to get their products into the country, after passing on those costs to American consumers. Democrats say Trump's tariffs are causing confusion around the world.
We object to the chaotic nature of how those tariffs are being applied. We've driven away friends across the globe. We've driven away careful allies.
In a hearing on Capitol Hill today, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said there are 18 important trading partners that the Trump trade team is currently working with. Melanie Zanona, NBC News, Washington.
New tonight, a body has been found after an Amber Alert in Delaware. You're looking now at 3-year-old Nola Dinkins. Most people in Delaware received an Amber Alert about her alleged kidnapping last night. Now her mother, Darian Randall, told police the child had been kidnapped at gunpoint in Newark, Delaware. Detectives, though, later determined that initial account given by the mother was made up. She has since been arrested along with Cedric Antoine Britton of Northeast Maryland. Maryland State Police this afternoon say they found a child's body in Cecil County. Police have not yet identified that body. Randall facing murder charges and Britton is facing accessory to murder and other charges. Maryland State Police continue to investigate the case. According to the Milford Police Department, a teenager has been arrested as a result of an armed robbery at a GameStop in Milford. Police say a male wearing a blue hoodie and a mask walked into the store, showed a handgun, and demanded money. But he did leave empty-handed in a red Ford Escape. Police later identified him as a 16-year-old from Harrington. They arrested him at home. He's facing felony charges. Also in Milford, a big setback for plans to move the Milford Museum. Permit and construction delays have pushed it off until the end of the year. The city plans to convert the old police station into a welcome center that the museum will share with the Chamber of Commerce. Although the fire marshal recently approved the project, there's still no clear timeline for when construction can begin. Officials say the updated space will offer greater exhibit capacity and act as a welcoming spot for everyone in the area.
We're going to have more room. We're going to be by the river and possibly stage some outdoor events. We're going to have more parking, and we're really excited about the move.
The museum says it will remain open at its current South Walnut Street location in Milford until that construction is complete. New tonight, today, BB Healthcare held an open house for its new facility in Long Neck. BB says the new primary care will be able to offer about 20,000 appointments throughout the year. Tours showed off space for mental health services, exam rooms, and places for conducting virtual visits. However, BB's CEO says empty rooms were left on purpose for future growth.
We will continue to build those sections out. No reason to build them now and spend the money when we know that healthcare will be changing. The other reason why that's important is because the building also represents, if you go inside, the future of healthcare. Healthcare's changing. You know, everything from AI to all kinds of healthcare technology.
And that open house today also included some meet and greets with staff. Now we're looking live outside into Lewis, which means it's time to turn things over to our first alert chief meteorologist, Paul Williams. Paul, it was hot out there today.
Oh, and like that old movie quote goes, if you think today was hot, wait till you get a load of tomorrow, okay? Look, Dover right now, we're holding at 73 degrees, and it's still really warm when you think about it. With the dew-point temperature in the 60s, it makes it feel hot, even though it's cool. It's just that steamy or that muggy feeling. And we'll have mainly clear skies for tonight. Now, we're at 69 in Milton right now, but also 69 degrees in Delmar, Gumboro, and Millsboro, 70 in Dagsboro. Now, we're keeping a close eye on the smoke because we still have some leftover residual coming from the fires that's happening in portions of Canada. But we're looking pretty green across Delmar, but we got a couple of yellow dots indicating that air quality is going to be a problem. We still have some active air quality alerts to our north and to our west, but we're still clear for right now. But it is in our general vicinity that we have to watch out for. Coming up, we're going to be talking about big time heat kicking in for Thursday.
All right, thank you, Paul. Now to a story we have been closely following here at Coast TV. Today, yet another day in the legislative session, and District 20 Representative Stell Parker Selby was still absent. Parker Selby, who represents roughly 23,000 registered voters, has missed every single House vote this year. That's at least 104 votes. Now, for the first time today, politicians on camera confirmed that Parker Selby had a stroke this winter. Sources had previously confirmed that to Coast TV. There are now calls for her resignation. All this brings us to our Coast TV poll. We want to know what you think. How should political leaders handle long-term absences of representatives? Looking at the results now, 74% say calls for resignation, 16% say health-based leave, 3% provide updates, 5% temporary legislator, just 2% say do nothing. We want to know what you think on this, though, so you can still vote. Just go to coasttv.com or use our mobile app. Let us know what you think. Well, a controversial bill is heading to a Delaware House committee. Here's a look above from Dagsboro, where a U.S. wind substation could go if that bill is signed into law. Senate Bill 159, it passed the Senate on Tuesday in a 15-5 vote. Coast TV reporter Zakia Jennings shows us what people are thinking and what's next for the legislation.
We're taking a look now in the Coast Copter at the plot of land in Dagsboro, directly across from the recently retired Indian River Power Plant. This empty space below us is where U.S. Wind hopes to put a substation, and after Tuesday's Senate vote, they are one step closer to doing just that.
The bill would overturn Sussex County Council's decision to deny a permit for the project. But both the substation and offshore wind in general have faced public pushback.
Why do we want to take that and completely disrupt it and build and bury cables and termination points and then run that down all the way to the power station that's way down in Millsboro under the seabed?
Ken Reuter says he's not against offshore wind, but he does not think Delaware should be involved in Maryland's project.
I see a significant detriment in the way that we are being tasked as a state for a Maryland project to host the onboarding of the connection into a land-based substation.
Coast TV reached out to Sussex County's public information officer about the passing of the bill. He says, quote, "The county remains hopeful that we, along with other local government officials, can continue to collaborate with our state partners to work towards the best solutions for the public we all serve." While we could not interview U.S. Wind today, a statement was shared from its Vice President of External Affairs, saying in part, quote, "The electric grid could face a capacity shortage as soon as this summer, and energy costs in Delaware continue to rise. Now more than ever, Delaware and other PJM states should enact policies to facilitate as much new energy generation as possible. SB 159 will ensure reliability for Delawareans while lowering the price they pay for electricity. When asked what's next for the substation, U.S. Wind shared they, quote, can't speak to what would happen if the bill ultimately passes.
Now that the bill has passed the Senate, it will be assigned to a House committee. If it is voted out of committee, it will be sent to the House floor for a vote. From the Coast Copter, flying above Dagsboro, I'm Zakia Jennings, Coast TV News.
Now we go to Cambridge, where a 15-year-old has been arrested for a Sunday night murder in the city. Police believe it was a targeted attack. That teen, identified as Ja'Kai Wilson, is being charged as an adult. Police say they were called to Camellia Street just after 8:30 Sunday night for a reported shooting. There, officers found a 23-year-old Seaford man who had been shot in the head. Cambridge Police Chief Justin Todd says surveillance cameras at the scene helped them crack the case. That video even showed several people gathering around the victim as he laid dying on the ground. No one helped him. Even some people stole his belongings.
The motive at this time, we're still working on, but certainly it appears that Mr. Wilson, along with several others, approached a vehicle with our victim inside with an attempt to obtain something from him, possible robbery, which led to the shooting death of our victim.
The 15-year-old is now charged with first-degree murder and assault, among other charges, and Cambridge police say more arrests are coming. Well, officials in the town of Assateague are considering how its emergency service crews may be impacted by a lack of lifeguards on the public beach at Assateague National Seashore. Lifeguards were removed this season after budget cuts to the National Park Service. Beachgoers there today say they're concerned about response time from Assateague EMTs if an emergency were to happen. Vacationers with life-saving training say it's unrealistic to assume someone with those skills will always be around.
I am concerned for the other beachgoers when I'm not around. I'm trained in CPR and first aid, so I can always be on duty as I am as a father, but not everyone here is trained in that. And the lifeguards are trained in CPR and first aid, so yeah, it's definitely bad for all the beachgoers.
Now, Assateague's mayor says they cannot supply lifeguards to the public beach on Assateague National Seashore because it is federally owned property. And we are just getting started this evening. Coming up next, a run for hope. Hundreds of Delaware officers lace up for the annual Torch Run, raising money all across the state. But first, a carnival for a cause in Georgetown. How this multi-day event is meant to help emergency service providers.
Well, Mother Nature is going to provide us an opportunity to have 91 degrees on Thursday in Cambridge, and then an opportunity for scattered showers on Friday and Saturday, and maybe even into the rest of the weekend. Your full forecast coming up in 60 seconds. So right now we have cloudy skies. Well, we have increasing moisture, which is going to lead to cloudy skies over the weekend, and that's when the rain will come into play. But you know, we're going to have that kind of moisture that's in the atmosphere for tomorrow that's going to make it feel like a heavy laden type of a day, because that humidity is going to kick in big time. All right, in Dover right now, holding at 73 degrees actually, and we're looking at temperatures staying in the 60s right now. As you take a look at the temperatures, we're at 70 degrees actually along Neck, 73 right now in Bethany Beach. Here's the latest look at what's happening with the future smoke. Now, we are concerned about what's happening with the air quality in our area because we're going to see some yellows in and around our area in general, but although as you take a look at the green, we're actually clear here at home in our immediate area. So Delmarva is going to skip over that part, but we're still going to have to watch out for a few things. So as we take a look at what's happening here, we have cloud cover limited because of the presence of high pressure in our neck of the woods. So we're going to stay pretty clear there. Everything's falling to the south. Now for the coast, 83 degrees, inland 91, eastern shore, which is over by Cambridge and over towards those areas in Crisfield, we're looking at 89 degrees with the winds pushing primarily out of the southwest. Friday is when the rain's going to arrive. You see this by 1 o'clock. We're looking for an isolated cell to pop right over Selbyville by 1:30. and then that moves quickly out of the way. And we have a couple of other sales that become a little bit intense for us on Friday, but they begin to push on through for us on that matter. Now, as far as our muggy meter is concerned, here's what that extra scoop of moisture we were talking about that's going to make it a little uncomfortable. Thursday, we get into the humid category to very humid. Friday, we get to very humid and fall just shy of miserable as we go from Friday going into Saturday. So we're going to have the kind of moisture that also leans into the opportunity for isolated thunderstorm cells to kick off and become and really blossom into very strong summer storms too. So remember, Thursday and Friday, humidity is going back up. Temperatures near the 90-degree mark, either slightly above it or slightly below it. And so we're looking possibly for the first 90-degree weather for the entire year. The other thing I need you to watch out for is the amount of sunshine. Now, I'm going to admit it myself. Being as chocolate as I am, I tend to ignore this, but I'm now going to start paying attention to this because you can actually get skin cancer even at my hue, okay? And when you're looking at straight 9s for 3 days in a row so early in the season, by the end of the summer, if you're not careful, you can run into some real skin problems, even me. Here's a look at your extended forecast. We're looking at scattered showers for Friday, Saturday, possibly on Father's Day. So if you have outdoor plans, make sure you have a big tent or Plan B ready.
Okay, appreciate it, Paul. Thank you. Well, Georgetown EMS kicked off their first ever fundraising carnival tonight. Officials say all the money raised will go toward a new ambulance, possibly a new EMS building. A recent study presented to Sussex County showed that Georgetown's EMS, their financial health, one of the lowest in Sussex County. Now, if you want to join in on the fun, the carnival is right next to the Georgetown EMS station on North Front Street. It's from 6 to 10 p.m. tomorrow and Friday, and 3 to 10 on Saturday. Well, nearly 800 Delaware law enforcement officers are putting their best foot forward for Special Olympics. The 39th annual statewide law enforcement torch run kicked off today. It goes until Friday with stops throughout the entire state. The money raised supports sports training and competition for people with intellectual disabilities. CoastTV News at 11 will be right back.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
Los Angeles now in its 6th day of protests. It's in response to immigration raids in the area, and leaders there are still pushing back against President Donald Trump's move to federalize the California National Guard and deploy hundreds of Marines. Now, as more demonstrations grow across the country, a member of his cabinet suggests National Guard orders could extend to other states. Michael Yoshida is in Los Angeles with late-breaking developments.
As Los Angeles rolled into its 6th night of protest over President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown, 30 mayors and city officials stood in solidarity with L.A. Mayor Karen Bass at a news briefing Wednesday afternoon to address the recent immigration and custom enforcement raids and Trump's deployment of troops to the area.
We stand united in rejecting fear-based tactics that target immigrant communities and erode public trust.
700 Marines were mobilized to the Los Angeles area this week, in addition to the California National Guard troops federalized and activated over the weekend. Bass said what's happening in her city could be a sign of things to come.
We are part of a national experiment to determine how far the federal government can go in reaching in and taking over power from a governor, power from a local jurisdiction.
Protests against Trump's immigration policies are emerging in other cities, including New York, Chicago, and Atlanta. More are also planned into the weekend. Wednesday morning, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth suggested that Trump's order federalizing the state's National Guard was also intended to create a precedent so that playbook could be replicated in other states.
Part of it is getting ahead of a problem so that if in other places where law enforcement officers are threatened, we would have the capability to surge National Guard there if necessary.
California's Governor Gavin Newsom is seeking a restraining order to temporarily stop Trump from using the Marines and National Guard to enforce laws in the state. A hearing is set for Thursday. In Los Angeles, I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
Coming up in sports, the Blue Gold Soccer All-Star Games kicked off at Caravel Academy today. Find out which local stars from the girls' game made an impact.
We salute Bob Schneider, a distinguished veteran of the U.S. Army whose valor and expertise were demonstrated both in the air and on the terrain of Vietnam and Japan from 1967 to 1971. Specializing in Morse code, Mr. Schneider was instrumental in intercepting and deciphering enemy transmissions, thus furnishing critical intelligence on enemy troop movements and communication channels.
Spicer Brothers and CoastTV are honoring military persons and first responders serving Delmarva. If you have a family member, friend, or community member that you would like to nominate for a CoastTV salute, go to coasttvsalutes.com.
Well, staying in the talk of weather, President Trump says he plans to phase out FEMA after the 2025 hurricane season. The president said he wants to bring FEMA down to the state level and let governors handle it. Federal and state emergency managers say most states don't have the budget or personnel to handle catastrophic disasters all on their own. And looking regionally tonight, the roads and the skies above Washington, D.C. will be impacted by Saturday's military parade. Megan McGrath has a look at the preparations underway.
Well, certainly people are going to have to be a little bit patient getting around here in D.C. for the next couple of days. We are days away from the parade itself, but you can see the large fences that have been set up all around the ellipse. Similar situation down along Independence Avenue and in other spots here around the parade route. We're also seeing road closures. Take a look at this here. The police have closed down one of the lanes here on 17th Street. That's so work crews can do their job of continuing to put up the fencing. Overnight, we saw road closures on 15th Street, 17th Street, Independence Avenue as crews did some work overnight. Those streets have reopened, but this is basically going to be the situation. Things are going to change depending upon what those work crews are doing. So people are going to want to be prepared. Now, the parade is going to start Saturday evening at 6:30. It's going to begin on 23rd Street and make its way down Constitution Avenue, past the Ellipse and the White House, and end at 15th Street. More than 100 military vehicles, including tanks and armored personnel carriers, are going to roll down that parade route. Those heavy military vehicles have been arriving by rail and truck this week, and they're staging along West Potomac Drive and Ohio Drive. Now, there is also going to be a military air show if weather permits. That is expected to impact flights in and out of Reagan National Airport on Saturday night. 116 flights could be affected with that temporary ground stop. Now, I spoke to a man visiting from Ohio. He made sure to schedule his flight home before the start of the weekend. Are you concerned at all about your flights or any of that?
No, well, if I was flying out Friday or Saturday, yeah, because they said there's going to be a lot of traffic, flyovers, things like that, so yeah.
So you're leaving on Thursday?
Yes, I am.
The Delmarva Sports Network from the Wawa Studios.
The annual Blue Gold Soccer All-Star Games took place today at Caravel Academy. There were plenty of Delmarva stars on the big stage. Let's get to the highlights of the girls' game. This one began close, no score with 8 minutes to go in the first half. Team Blue threatening in front, and this may be the easiest goal Archmere's Lila Bell will ever score. She scored a pair in the first half to put Team Blue up 2-0 at the break. In the second half, Team Gold gets some help from Caesar Rodney's leading scorer this season. Alexandra Lenore flips one over the keeper and into the net, bringing the Gold squad back within one. Later in the half, it's now 3-1 Blue, and they started scoring at will. Here's Bell again on the doorstep. Give her a hat trick and give her team a 3-goal advantage. Less than a minute later, how about some Delmar love? On a corner, Mackenzie Carroll heads one home and makes it a 5-1 Blue lead. She had a team-high 16 goals this season for the Wildcats. And later, Caravel's Lily O'Brien puts on the finishing touches on her home field, taking this one and lasering it in from way downtown. Team Blue dominates and pulls out a 7-1 victory over Team Gold. That'll do it for sports. Have a great night, everyone.
Tonight, the Cheer Center hosted a cruise-in evening event here in Milford. Lots of old-school cars as well as multiple displays inside the Cheer Center. Walter Koopman, the president of the board of directors at Cheer, was key in coordinating this event.
We had 40-some cars today just for a cruise in. We had a nice plump hot dog.
Sounds like a lot of fun there. And we also want to let our viewers know of a program change happening Friday, June 13th. The U.S. Open will be airing from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m., then Wheel of Fortune at 7 p.m., and the NBC Nightly News at 7:30. There will be no Coast TV News at 5 or 6 this day.
All right, well, we will have this day is our umbrella winner, actually, and it's Jackie Hollenbaugh of Laurel. Congratulations to you, Jackie, courtesy of Paul Davis Restoration and Home Remodeling. Now, if you want to keep up with your forecast, you can always call our weather line. The number that you call is 443-880-9100. Your forecast is just a call away, sponsored by the law offices of Bruxted, Mandalis, and Federico. And finally, here's a look at your exclusive 10-day forecast. Listen, tomorrow's going to be very hot and humid, bona fide summer-like day with the heat index into the upper 90s. Scattered showers kick in for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even possibly leaning into Monday. So please keep that in mind. But remember, it's steamy for Thursday.
All right, Paul Williams, thank you again. And thanks to you for joining us for Coast TV News at 11. For some more local news and weather, you can download our Coast TV News app. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon's up next, and we'll see you back tomorrow for Coast TV News at 5 a.m. Have a great night.